Hello, and welcome to an episode of the Nutella Experience with featured guest and friend, Mr. Gutierrez. Today, we will be discussing Native Son by Richard Wright. That one surprised me right there. It didn't, it didn't quite surprise me, but it's just the way that Jan thought of everything was nuts. Like, at that time period, it's 1930s, right? I mean, he's kind of in the same boat, but not really. He's persecuted, but not to the same extent and to the same depth that Bigger is. He's a communist, yeah. 1930s is not exactly an ideal time for that.
Well, in some ways it was more ideal than now.
Fair. That's true.
There was actually a viable communist party in the United States at the time.
Sure, but even still, they're not exactly...
No.
They're not exactly looked up upon by many people. So, it's not as big as it could have been. Or, in the 60s, it probably would have been even bigger then. Like, then he would have really been frowned upon. But the way that Jan and the lawyer, Mr. Max, looked at it was very, very interesting, especially for that given time period.
Can you say more about that?
Like, Mr. Max, I should say, he looked at the whole situation. He was all like, all right, let's look at your background. Let's look at everything that led up to these two murders. Let's look at everything since your conception to now. Let's look at your motives. Let's look at your entire life that led up to this, and then we'll call it from that. Not necessarily what happened a couple days before the murder leading up to it, and then, which is how normally everything works.
Right.
Which is why I was a little bit surprised. The way that I was actually kind of that whole situation, he had this whole 5-page, he went off for 5 pages. I was like, whoa, that's like a whole 30-minute speech right there. That was, and I'm not entirely sure. He prepared it obviously a little bit the day because he had a whole night to prepare for that, but I feel like half of it was he just winged it, and I'm impressed. I'm sincerely impressed by his effort. That was impressive, and that his willingness to stand up to the whole system like that for a solid 30 minutes and go off like that, explaining his life, why he was already in a situation where he was already dead to begin with. That was moving. That was very moving. And what also surprised me about that book was that Bigger was clever in how it was obviously an unintentional murder, but even still, the way he... The
first one.
Yeah, the first one is very unintentional. The one that really caused everything. But what surprised me about Bigger was how he went about covering everything up. I was impressed by that. I thought it was impressive. He went about that in a really concise manner. He went about it very he really thinks well off the fly, which is, you kind of have to, considering the line of work he was in, but even still, I thought it was incredible. It was very, very effective.
Bigger is smart.
Very.
But, I think...
he got caught, obviously, so it wasn't...
But, it isn't one of the things Richard Wright saying is that because of the social system,
You have to be good on your feet for that kind of stuff.
Well, you do, but also it's against you, right? I mean,
That's true.
That's
yes.
what he means by like I was dead already.
That's true.
You know,
yeah.
In some ways, the murder was an inevitability, not because of who Bigger is,
Just because of the
it's because of
situation.
what the societal expectations of a black man are.
That's true. Yeah, and is disappointing to think that the societal expectations were like that, because they still, I mean, while it was still that long after slavery had ended and stuff like that, they still expect bordering on the same, and this was before the civil rights movement too, so it's not completely out of the ordinary for that to happen. So it's just like the societal structure just was a little bit. It's just not as accepting, I guess. It's not. There's nothing there for that to happen, which is disappointing, considering.
That's right.
But anyways, I was curious. Did you listen to any music yet?
I haven't listened to anything, Abraham. I've just been. I have no excuse, actually.
Yeah, that's whatever. Anyways, I said last week I had stuff. No, I said last week that I had stuff to say about it. So here goes.
Okay.
All right. So.
Why don't you close that? Just.
The door.
Yeah.
All right. All right. So this music is it's something else. It's
Tell me what you're listening to.
All right. So
what you're talking about.
Both these albums are by Meek Mill. The first one is called Dreams and Nightmares, and then the second one is called just Dream Chasers.
It's by whom?
Meek Mill.
How do you spell that?
MEEK, and then the last one's MILL.
Oh yeah, Meek Mill.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's something else. It's really you got to get around to listening to that stuff, because it's he's spitting some truth right there.
Okay.
He's
got it here.
All right. So I just want you to listen to one song, just one song for right now.
Which one?
Let's just listen to that one to start, because that's.
Ain't this what they've been waiting for? You ready? I used to pray for times like this, to rhyme like this, so I had to grind like that, to shine like this. In a matter of time I spent on some locked up shit.
This guy's got views, man.
See my dreams unfold.
This guy's known.
Nightmares come true. It was time to marry the game, and I said, yeah, I do. If you want it, you gotta see it with a clear eye view. Got shorty, she tryna bless me like I said I do. Like a nigga sneeze. Nigga, please, for them tricky squeeze, I'm getting cream. Never let them hoes get in between of what we started. Little nigga, but I'm lying hearted. They love me when I was stuck in their head, and when I departed, I go and get it regardless. Draw it like I'm an artist, no crawling, went straight to walking with foreigns in my garages. Are foreign bitches menaging, fucking sucking and swallowing anything for $1. They tell me get him, I got him. I did it without an album. I did shit with Mariah. Little nigga, I'm on fire. Icy as a hot ring, Philly nigga, I'm flying. When I bought the Rolls Royce, they thought it was lease. Then I bought that new Ferrari, hater, rest in peace. Hater, rest in peace, rest in peace to the parking lot. Phantom so big, can't even fit in the parking spot. You ain't talking about my niggas, then what you talking about? Gangsters moving silence, nigga, and I don't talk a lot. I don't say a word. I don't say a word. Was on my grind and now I got what I deserve. Fuck, nigga. Hold up, wait a minute. Y'all thought I was finished? When I would ask tomorrow, y'all thought it was rented. Flexing on these niggas, I'm like Papa on this spinach. Double M, yeah, that's my
I don't want to blast you off.
These niggas try to take my life, they fuck around, get killed. You fuck around, you fuck around, you fuck around.
good days.
It is.
Real nigga, what up? If you ain't about that murder game, then pussy nigga, shut up. If you dip me in your racks, I get your pussy ass stuck up. When you touch down in my hood, no, that tour life ain't good. Catch me down in MIA. Hey, that heat game on wood. Would that put my life on my feet? Like that little engine I could. Boy, I slide down in your block. Back on 12 o'clock. And they be throwing deuces on the same nigga they watch. And I'm the king of my city, cause I'm still calling them shots. And these lanes talking that bullshit, the same niggas that flop. I'm the same nigga from First Street, them that praise that lot. The same nigga that came up and I had to wait for my spot. And these niggas hating on me. Hoes waiting on me. Still on that hood shit, my Rolls Royce on E, they gon' remember me. I say remember me. So much money that you free turning your enemy. And when this be my turn, my enemies the memories. We them bricks that go for 40, ain't no 10 to key. Hold up, broke nigga turn rich. Not a game like Mitch. And if I leave, they dumb pretty hoes gon' still suck my dick. It was something about that rollie when it first touched my wrist. Had me feeling like that dope boy when he first touched that brick. Oh God.
All right, talk to me.
That, I feel, that song is an accurate representation of every black person that made it.
Explain.
That song, well, more for rappers than anything, but since they made it out, they've got it made now. They've made it with the music. They've got an active crowd now. They've made it. But see, that he toward the end he said he made so much money that his friends are now his enemies. That's just how it works. I mean, I don't know if you saw Straight Outta Compton yet. Have you? Yeah? That happened there too. Ice Cube turned on, or no, the lawyer technically broke him apart. But that's, I mean, as far as money goes, Easy was getting everything, and then that didn't quite sit well with Cube. Cube broke up, everything went to shambles, and then towards the end they wanted to get back. Easy didn't make it. You know, it was a tragic situation. But that's essentially what happens. There's the friend group. One is making a little bit more money because of X, Y, and Z. Rest of the group doesn't like it. They turn on him, and that's a whole situation right there. But even still, it's like it's essentially what that song was saying.
But the thing is I mean, that experience, I might argue, really doesn't have anything to do with race. I mean,
That's true. That's a
happens
whole
in country and western bands too.
That's true. That's a whole just societal thing right there. But even still, I feel like it's more prevalent in the black community, especially though, because we're out here living Section 8, just about everyone. Right. And once
so
one person makes it out, then the rest of them are really getting jealous because they're like, what did he do? All he knows is how to rhyme. He's got felonies on him. He didn't graduate, and all here he is. He's just making rhymes, and he got out. What really did he do? He didn't do much.
If I'm working hard as a groundskeeper and keep my nose clean, I'm not rewarded.
Exactly.
Right?
And here he is living Section 8. He doesn't have his nose clean at all by any means. And here he is. He's probably top 3% of America now.
That's
He's got millions upon millions upon millions of dollars. He doesn't know what to do. Exactly. He doesn't know what to do with all that. And so now here he is. He's got his former squad. They're hating on him because he's got it now, but they're still living Section 8. And then now
Sorry, I'm looking for it.
No, go ahead, no worries. But it's a whole situation now, because now they've got means now, and but the black people, they still kind of have means, because they still have weapons as well. And so what they can, and more than likely the artist is affiliated with a gang, because that's where he started, right?
Right.
So he obviously still goes back to the gang group, hangs with them a little bit, just to keep things real, stuff like that. But then now the other ones, they're not with that, right? Because he technically didn't do anything to get there. They pull up, all they have to do is put 2 pounds of pressure on a trigger, and he's dead. And I'm almost entirely sure what happened with Biggie, with Tupac, with Nipsey Hussle, with countless other names, right?
Yeah.
They're all dead.
Right.
They're 6 feet under the ground, and all one had to do is just put 2 pounds on a pistol, and then he's dead. He's gone. His words are now all that he has left of him, and whatever he has decided to do with his money, other than music. I mean, there's his music, there's what he did for the community, and then there's what he did for other people, and then he got shot. That's all that's left now. That's it. And it's also kind of detailed in some other songs. I suppose you just have to listen to that. But especially in the first Dream Chasers, that's the message that one spits out is, I think, a little bit more powerful than Dreams and Nightmares as an album. I think that album is a little bit stronger, considering, first of all, it's the first one, so it's kind of like an experiment, so it goes harder a little bit. So it explains, I think, the situation that he's in a little bit better.
So you're talking about which album?
Dream Chasers, the first one. There are 4.
Well, there's Dreams and Nightmares, Dreams Worth More Than Money,
Oh, he has.
DC4, Wins and Losses.
Oh no, that's not all of them. Let me tell you. There's here, if you search up Dream Chasers 1, it'll show up. That's, as far as his discography, that's not everything. Yeah.
Okay.
It's kind of it's a mixtape, but
Oh, I see. That's why they didn't. That's why
they
list
didn't.
it there. Yeah.
yeah, it's a mixtape. As
Oh, this is cool.
It's got a lot of stuff on there. And I think it goes a lot harder, considering it's got a lot more people involved with it, as well as it's got. So it encapsulates a little bit better of an idea of what he does, of what the situation's like for everyone. Now, Meek Mill himself, he's from Philadelphia, and obviously I think situations change with geography.
Sure.
Variably.
You betcha.
I mean, the situation's still going to be the same as far as poverty and lifestyle, kind of. But geography does change some stuff as well. So, I mean, he's from Philadelphia. I have one by Kendrick. He's from Compton. And then there are a few more. I forget the albums and who did them. But geography just does change stuff. So
It's not, no doubt about it. I mean, the experience of somebody living in inner city Chicago is different than somebody living in inner city Oakland.
Exactly, right. So
even though, like you say, some of the lifestyle choices and culture will be...
That's going to be similar.
Yeah.
But the actual situation in itself, the proper actual thing is going to be different. But yeah, no, I think the music aspect really details the life of 2000s rapper fairly well, considering they spill out their entire life right there. Like that album, Dream Chasers 1, it was like a 2011 one, but it still details it really, really well.
It's not
Like,
that things are not that different now.
exactly. And it's, I mean, 10 years is a while, but it's a while to change that kind of stuff as well. And 10 years isn't nearly long enough for that to happen.
No.
But I definitely, you got to listen to that.
Okay.
You got to listen to
The
that.
Dream Chasers.
DC1, that's important.
Okay.
'Cause
Cool.
that, I think, is the building block of DC2, DC3, and DC4.
Cool.
Because I think sequentially, that's the most important one. DC2, it details it a little bit more of how he's starting to get it now. He's starting to get the money. The lifestyle is starting to change a little bit. I mean, DC1 is important because that details more of the lifestyle of the inner city.
Oh, yeah, there we go. Okay.
Yeah, DC2, DC3, and DC. I think DC4 isn't so much a mixtape. I think that's a proper album. But DC1 through 3, I think, are mixtapes, so they didn't show up on the discography. But they're still good.
Yeah.
They're,
In some ways,
incredible.
I'm more intrigued by those than the record.
I'll tell you, man, they're important.
Cool.
I mean, if you get around to listening to
I
all
will,
4 of
I will.
them, do
Well, I
it.
don't know how soon I'll get all 4, but I'll listen to them.
No, if you get a chance to listen to it today,
Okay.
you got to do it.
Okay.
It's important. Like the lifestyle that he details. Here, let me search up
You
the
bet.
song titles and lists and stuff like that. But yeah. The second one, Get This Money. That's his dream right there. Is detailing, all right. We are going to get this money. Everyone that he knows, all his Atlanta people, all his Delaware guys, all his, just about everyone. Keep going down, keep going down. Down, keep going. Boom.
Okay. I'll listen to it later. I want to talk right now.
All right, but it details, and especially at the end when he's saying, all my Atlanta niggas, all my Delaware niggas, all of everyone. That's his dream right there. We're gonna get this money. We're gonna make it out. That's what's happening right here, right? And then that's his dream. But then also there's some songs detailing what's happening in the situation around him, right? There's one song that's Middle of the Summer, right? That's detailing the entire inner city life right there. That's during the summer, crack's going on. It's like everyone has a gun on them, whether it be an AK, a shotgun, a pistol, anything, right? You got to have some lead on you if you're going to survive. By what he's saying, right? And what he's doing is that he's got his lead on him, and he's just, and it's kind of also in like a saddish tone. He's like, this is what's happening in the middle of the summer. Like, there's a grandma who's sitting over her son who's got a slug in his lung, and she's just like, I told you, man, about selling these drugs. What? And then he's dead. His grandma is over him. He's like, told you about selling them drugs. That's the situation right there. And he's getting the money so he can get out of the situation. That's his dream right there. That album is, if I could have the entire world listen to one album, I think that would be it.
Okay, so why? What exactly, I mean, I've heard you talk about what he says. What exactly do you want the world to hear?
The situation that the inner cities are in America, or possibly around the world. I'm not sure how everything else is around the
I
world.
think we
the
have
US,
kind of a unique thing going on in this country for a whole bunch of reasons.
right. And as far as inner city America goes, that's the issue. That's what's happening. If I could have the ear of anyone of social problems, of anyone in the world who has the potential to stop that,
Yeah.
I'd have them listen to that, because that details everything that's wrong with the inner city. All the guns, all the drugs, all the issues in themselves. That is a problem.
Yeah, I mean, to relate it to our earlier discussion about bigger, right? And this idea that bigger was subject to forces larger than his own person.
Right. He's not able to control that. Therefore, I mean, he's currently just in that situation. He can't get out of it.
He's almost like a leaf on a stream.
Right.
The current directs him, and it takes away his individual agency. He can't be a man because he's
stuck.
Society says, you're not a man, you're not a free person, you're a black person. And everything gets defined by that until eventually it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. I mean, do you see something similar going on in the inner city experience, that people become, that there are self-fulfilling prophecies because the situation is so dire? People inevitably turn to that lifestyle, whereas they might not have otherwise?
I think so, yeah. I mean, I've been to a couple ghettos in California. I mean, just like driving through it, visiting a friend. They live kind of in the area. I mean, it's like Long Beach area. They live around there, and the airport isn't exactly the safest spot.
No,
so, I mean, so I rolled around that area a little bit, saw the housing, saw everything in that situation. I say, if I was in that situation, it's hard to get out. It's bordering on impossible. Yep. And so one's in that situation. He sees that money is the way out, right? But the situation at that point then turns to, all right, now how do you get the money? And whether it's through legal means or not, that's for him to answer himself. Whether he's going to go to school, whether he's going to stay there and still mess with the streets a little bit, that's the question. Because if he stays in school, if he does well, if he focuses on that, that's all well and good. But then so if he fucks with the streets as well, now how's that gonna bring it? Because I feel the streets are a more alluring option, a more brighter option, considering that it's quicker money.
Yep.
The
rules are more clear.
Yes.
For a kid from that environment than
school. Certainly. Just about every single rapper that I know of, that I listen to, they didn't make it out of high school.
Yeah.
So they've fucked with the street life a lot longer, and they know that life since they were like 5. Grandpa died, Dad died, Mama's on coke because she can't take it all. So here we are. We're sitting here just like, all right, now what am I supposed to do? I have everyone here that has gone to the streets. They couldn't handle school. Now, who says I can handle school? Mm-hmm. Right? The life that they know is a lot different from the life that they could know, a life of education, a life of making it out the harder way, but the legal way. But now they're stuck with the idea of, all right, now this is they're on the cusp at that point. They can either make it the school way, the expensive way, the harder way, or they can make it the bright, flashy way, street way, the illegal way, I should say. And so they're going to go to the bright, flashy one because that's more alluring. That's there. It's easy money. That's it.
It's also the model, the American model that we have, that they look up to, right?
Exactly.
That get rich,
Get rich or die trying.
Yeah.
That's also a phrase that's been dished out many, many times by Meek. I'm sure if you listen to those, I'm and I say 90% sure just about all the time, I'm 100 that he says it in those two albums. He said, I mean, I'm not sure if it's a song title in those ones, but he has a song title that says "Get Rich or Die Trying." That's a lifestyle to them. That's their businessman right there. Is a guy slinging a gun with a bunch of lead. He's got a bunch of chains on him. That's his gold. That's his well suit. That's his suit right there. And then he's got baggy jeans. That's his classic. All right, I'm doing business. Get out.
Yep.
That's what's up.
Have you started The Wire at all yet?
No, I haven't had that.
Okay, there's no pressure. No pressure.
I'm gonna get to that. I will get. Is it on Netflix?
Or no, I think it's on Amazon.
All right. If it's on it's either situation, I'm fine because I got both.
Okay.
But anyways, I will. Bordering on entirely sure I'm going to start binge watching that this afternoon.
Because what you just said about like the clothing,
yeah,
the business, we're doing business. I mean, they play that and they show it in that film in an amazing way. And there's an interesting relationship between a guy who's still doing business the old street way and a guy who's like taking classes at a local university and trying to he's taking economics but he's still pushing, he's still running a crew and
right.
the whole thing. And so it's really interesting to see the contrast between those two guys.
That's interesting. That's very interesting. Because I've never... That's fast. Because a guy in a suit running drugs with his squad who's also not exactly wearing the same stuff as him, that's hysterical. That's great. I love that.
Okay, so this is not the same thing, but just
sure.
It's an analogy. So
all right, shoot.
I have some family that are involved in the biker community.
Yeah, sure, of course.
Like the 1%ers, Banditos and Hells Angels and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And the thing he always says is that you can always tell when an angel is doing business because they show up in their Cadillac. Right? Not on their motorcycle.
Oh, that's good.
Isn't that weird?
That's true though. And same goes with the black community as well, especially I mean, you saw Straight Outta Compton, right? They have from the beginning they're still pushing drugs and stuff like that, but they pull up with a beat up Chevy and stuff like that, and someone pulls up in a 6'4", they made it.
That's exactly right. Because
he's pulling up with 5 or 6 women in his car with hydraulics and everything, bumping his front up and down, right?
Right.
And here he is, he's got probably 3-4 chains on his neck. He's like, all right, so what's up? Let's do business.
Yeah.
Yeah? And he's obviously got at least 5 or 6 guys with him with AKs or whatever, because that's how you do business. It's with a gun, it's with some coke, and it's with some people saying, all right, that's what it costs. You don't have it, get lost. That's what it is.
Yeah.
Now, the music business is a little bit different, kind of, but it's also somewhere around the same, because it's the group. If one doesn't like it, splits off, makes his own thing with maybe one or other guy or 1 or 2 guys. They split off or Dre split off because he didn't like it, and he also and this I saw part of it this morning too, just to like refresh my mind and everything. And I was like, and he said something that really stuck with me. He's like,
Dre.
Yeah, because he said something is like, you can't put a price on peace of mind, and I'm like, whoa, that's the truth right there. And he's like, because the label that he was with, Death Row, they were messing up. He was not about that. And he said it too. He's like, we got all this money for what? Right? We got all this money to act like this. And there was this one, and that was this scene where they were playing pool, messing around, drinking a ton. It's like, we could have done, and he's like, we could have done that back there, back where we started, back in the coke house, back and everything, right? We could have done that there. but why are we doing it here? I've got someone in the studio working his butt off to make something happen, and here you are acting like this. And he was like, that's my name on the wall right there. That's my name. I am responsible for this. I'm not about to have these idiots mess it up for me.
And that's why Dr. Dre changed music.
Exactly. Cube, Easy, E, and then Dre, they were the godfathers of rap right there.
No doubt about it.
They changed the American music taste forever.
Yep.
Without a doubt. I still listen to them today.
I do too.
Shit, they're good too.
They're real
God.
good. And you know
It's
what,
like-
man? It's still edgy. It's
Yeah.
still edgy.
They Dre fathered like Eminem. He fathered a ton of other people. He fathered Tupac. I mean, come on
Snoop.
now. Exactly. You can't. I mean, those are results
he
right
created a signature sound that everybody picked up on. I mean, do you know the album The Chronic?
there. Don't think so. No.
That was his first post NWA
Album?
record, and it is a great record. The bass is so kicking on it without being bass for the sake of more bass, if that makes sense.
No, that makes sense. There are songs that I listen to specifically because of the bass.
Sure,
Because it
betcha.
makes my car rock off the ground. And that's it's hard to find something where you have music that is good because of the bass, but also because of what it says too.
Yeah.
Right? And it's hard to find music like that. It really is. Just because the musicians nowadays have bass solely because of more bass. And it's good, but it means nothing.
Right.
Right. And it's it's what it is, I guess. But it's and what'd you say it was called? The Chronic?
The Chronic.
All right. I'll listen. I'll take a
I just
listen
sent
to that.
you an email.
Yes.
You'll like it.
I'm sure I will. But that's the thing though. It's like that what Dre said is so true. Like your name's on the wall, you got to live up to it.
That's exactly right.
That's the only way, especially if you're from that situation right there. If you're from Section 8, that's the one way that you can make it out right there. That's you got your name. It's hard. It's bordering on
but it's
impossible.
also, you're right, but it's as realistic as saying I'm going to play in the NBA.
Right. That's
like
also
one
true.
out of 5,000 kids gets that opportunity. 1 out of 5,000 kids makes it out by making a record.
But that's the reality of it, though.
Yeah, but that's a shitty reality.
Yeah, but that's the societal change that someone's got to make.
How do you see that happening?
That's a great question.
I mean, it's a question that troubles me more and more.
I mean, yeah, because the way that's going to happen is, I mean, better housing, I guess. I mean, that's because it's also a mindset too. That's the harder thing that's to change.
That's
is
right.
the mindset, is because you could say, hey, I think it was like George Bush that said the No Child Left Behind policy or whatever.
Yeah.
But also it's like, that's one way to do it. Have everyone get a high school diploma no matter what.
Yeah, but that's a farce. I mean, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's like saying that you're going to get as good an education at West Mesa as you are at La Cueva.
Yeah. That's not
anybody who thinks there's any sort of like equivalent education going on at those two schools is kidding themselves.
It's true. But also it's like that's also just, I feel that's bordering on one of the only ways to do it, is have everyone educated.
Yeah.
It's kind of like,
but you got to make the education real. right? It can't be like, okay, we're
Right.
going to slap this system down on inner city schools now and see if it makes changes.
Because it more than likely will not. I mean,
It won't.
It's kind of like what Huey Newton was saying.
Who?
Is Huey Newton is kind of you know how he was saying the whole communistic thing,
Mm-hmm.
how everything is shared. I mean, as unrealistic as that is, that's bordering on the truth of what has to happen in order for that to happen. In order for everyone to get educated enough so that they'll stop, realize what's happening, and then try to make it out in a way that doesn't involve drugs or lead. That's, I mean, the socialistic way is the one that I suggested would be a little bit more realistic. I think would be better.
Mm-hmm.
But that's really it. That's I mean, as far as making the situation better, you'd have to change the mindset, you'd have to change the government, you have to change the policies,
the economic system to some degree.
Exactly. That in itself is bordering, like, that takes a lot of time. And considering it's taken 200 years to get where we are now, I'm not entirely sure, or like 150 years, I don't even know how long it's been, but I mean, it took us that long to get here. We're still oppressed, right? And to change that in a systematic way is going to at least take another 150.
That sounds right to me.
But it's what's gonna happen, but also it's that is if we keep going in a more progressive route. That's the only way that it can happen. Because currently, with the current leadership that we have, that's not gonna happen.
No, sir.
As far as I'm concerned, the way I look, every single time that they're like, all right, so there's this one dude, he's black, 4'7" to 5'11", go after him, I better have a really good alibi with some, like, 5 people to back me up, because there is no way that anything is going to work. There's no way. That's unrealistic. So I might as well just stay in my house, right? I mean, if at least police brutality gets a little bit better, I might be able to pull up to a restaurant, and at least enjoy myself.
Mm-hmm.
But there's no, I mean, considering current situation, there's no way. I mean, with the current way that police is handling themselves, that's not going to happen.
No, not anytime soon.
Exactly. So it's that situation that's hard to get out of the public mind. It's that picture of the black community being monsters yet again, with the idea that we sling and sell.
Again, we're right back to Bigger Thomas, right? We're
exactly
right back to what Wright is saying. And that's the crazy thing. That's, it
always goes back in
years
circle.
ago now. It goes back to what?
It's the circle. It's always the circle.
And how do we break out of that circle, man, so we can move ahead?
Because I'm getting sick of this shit.
Me too.
It's not happy with it.
Hey, have you started your podcast yet?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Send me a link.
Yes, I will.
Okay.
I'm putting a couple finishing touches on it.
Okay.
Making sure I'm trying to figure out how to do the whole picture thing, like I was saying.
Yeah.
But I'll when I finish that up, I'll send you a link, definitely.
Okay. We've been going at it an hour. I better get some of my other stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
This
definitely.
is good, man. Our last 2 conversations have been good.
Yes, I've
really enjoyed this so far.
Yeah, I have too. It's nice for me too because I get to get a couple things off my chest as well, which is nice.
Send me an email. Let me know what you're reading this week.
Yeah, we'll do. I'll do that.
I will listen to the mixtape.
Please.
Okay.
Please. It's spectacular.
And give them hell today out there on the courts.
Oh, you already know what's about to happen. You already know what's about to happen.
What?
They're going to get dished out a lot of hell.
Right on.
They can't handle it. They can't handle it.
All right, Abraham.
LCG.
Have a good long weekend, man.
Thank you as well.